Hi everyone, welcome to the Ladon method. I'm Allison Ladon Darrow and we're gonna get started standing in today's strong class. So just get your feet parallel to one another, hip distance, so your feet should look like train tracks with your toes facing forward. Roll the shoulders back down along the spine, allowing greater length in the neck from the shoulders and the ears, create more space. At the same time, instead of sticking the butt out, feel a rotation of your pelvis towards your navel so your core is engaged, finding your proper alignment, keeping the head right above the pelvis rather than the head coming forward or tilting back, chin parallel to the floor. From here, bring your palms face forward, lift all 10 toes up off the mat. Keep your toes lifted and we'll begin drawing those circles with the body. So you're feeling as though you're drawing circles on the ceiling with the crown of your head. Close your eyes here. Working towards finding the four corners of each foot, finding where your big toe meets the sole of the foot, where your little toe meets the sole of the foot, and the two sides of the heels. Finding our grounding here. Finding as if there were a table on each foot, so that when you're balancing later on during our practice, you're less likely to fall over. So as you keep the eyes closed here, drawing those circles, really grounding down the four corners of each foot, make sure you're keeping the toes lifted. It really helps you find those four corners. And at the same time, begin coming into your breath, breathing in and out through the nose, feeling that length and depth of breath. Finding that full capacity of the lungs while feeling as though you're sipping air through a straw, feeling that smoothness of breath. And then reverse the direction of your circles, making sure that you're still nice and grounded even when things are thrown off course, just like life. Sometimes when you challenge yourself, you might fall, and we just get up again and again. Once you're ready and you feel nice and grounded in both feet, slow down the pace of your circles, decrease the size of your circles, and find stillness. Lower down your pinky toe, then lower down one toe at a time, and flutter the eyes open. All right, let's get started. Let's bring the arms high overhead, reaching the fingertips high. On an exhale, allow the hands to melt through heart center. On an inhale, reach the arms high overhead. On an exhale, allow the hands to melt through heart center. From here, we'll hinge forward at the hips, coming into a forward fold. Relaxing your head and neck, relaxing your torso down. You can bring a nice deep bend in the knees. This one's more about relaxing your torso down versus stretching out the hamstrings. So relax your hamstrings a bit by finding a bend in the knees, allowing your belly to relax onto your thighs. If you can keep the contact with belly to thighs, you can work towards straightening the legs, but don't force it here. Then on your own time, on an inhale, we'll lift up halfway with a nice flat back, placing your fingertips on your shins right beneath the knees. Lengthen your spine. Feel the crown of your head reach forward as your sit bones reach towards the back. On your own time, on an exhale, we'll plant the palms. We'll step back in to a high plank, top of a push-up. From here, get your body in a nice straight line from heels, hips to the crown of the head. Breathing in it. Holding it here, make sure your shoulders are right above the wrists. Try not to allow the hips to pop up or droop down. Feel that rotation of pelvis towards navel. And then from here, we'll take it into a down dog, that inverted V shape, that upside down V. Feeling your sit bones reach up and back towards where the back wall and the ceiling meet. Make sure your spine is long as you feel your heels melt towards the mat. At the same time, feel that length of your neck. Try not to crease in the back of the neck. Try to keep your ears in line with your arms. Good. On an exhale, let's take it into a high plank, top of a push-up. Remember, our body is flat as a board. Get your core nice and strong. Inhale, let's take it into our down dog. We're gonna take a few more rounds here, moving at your own pace from your high plank to your down dog, just warming up in our strong class. And remember, come into that high plank, drop onto the knees. We're gonna bring the big toes together to touch knees out wide. And remember, you can always come to a child's pose if you ever need a rest here. Our strong class is slightly more challenging than some of our other classes in terms of endurance. So just see where you want to take it. Every day's a little bit different. And on your own time, we'll take it in to a tabletop, back into our down dog. Pedaling out the feet here in your down dog. And at the bottom of an exhale, you can step to the top of the mat. Bring your feet hip distance and parallel. Let's sit the hips down low, reaching the fingertips high. On an exhale, find your airplane arms, reaching your fingertips towards the back of the room. Make sure you're feeling that rotation of pelvis towards navel, not sticking the butt out here. Your palms should be face down. Feel the shoulders roll back and down along the spine, creating more space across those collarbones. On an inhale, we'll rise it up to standing. Invite the left leg with you. Get your head right above the pelvis. Your fingertips are reaching high. You're getting nice and tall. From here, on an exhale, we'll open up the chest towards the left. So your hips are parallel to the front of the mat. They're staying isolated. You're just leading with your chest, actively reaching your fingertips out in opposite directions. Let's take it back to center. Get nice and tall. From here, bring your hands to heart center. Let's take it into a warrior three. You can stay pretty lifted here this first time through, especially it's pretty early in our practice. And once you're ready, we'll take it all the way back to standing, bringing the arms high overhead. On an exhale, let's fold it forward. On an inhale, lift it up halfway. On an exhale, let's plant the palms, step it back to a high plank, top of a push-up. From here, lowering onto your knees, taking a modified plank. So you're making sure there's that rotation of pelvis towards navel, core is nice and engaged. And from here, you're going to lower just halfway down, trying to find a 90-degree bend at the elbows. Inhale, straighten the arms. On an exhale, lower halfway down. Inhale, straighten the arms. So you're leading with your chest here. Try not to allow the head to come forward. Slide it back into that imaginary head rest. Working the arms here so we're strong enough to actually move through chaturanga correctly. Working on that arm strength, working on the core strength. So there ends up being more of a buoyancy as you transition through these motions. Good, once you're ready, let's return to a child's pose, knowing that's a place you can always rest. Big toes together to touch, knees out wide, hips melt towards heels as you reach your fingertips towards the top of the mat. Resting your third eye, the center of the forehead down. Just taking one more breath here, but no, you can take as many as you like. Once you're ready, let's take it back into a tabletop. Curl those toes under. Let's lift the hips up and back. This time through, you can either walk to the top of the mat or maybe you jump to the top of the mat. But if you're jumping forward, just make sure you're landing very lightly. You shouldn't even hear a sound when you land. Bring those feet hip distance and parallel. Let's sit the hips down low, reaching the fingertips high. On an exhale, find those airplane arms. Make sure the knees aren't going past the toes here. Feeling nice and strong in your low body. Feel as though there's a block between your thighs and you're squeezing it, not allowing the knees to knock together, but keep the knees above your ankles. Good. On an inhale, let's rise it up to that one-leg Tadasana. Invite the right leg with you on the side. Make sure your head is right above the pelvis. Fingertips are reaching high. On an exhale, we'll open the chest towards the right. Remember, we're isolating the low body. Your hips are staying nice and squared off to the top of the mat. As you inhale, you might get a little bit taller here, feeling the crown of the head reach up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, maybe you twist a little bit more. On your own time, we'll take it back to center, fingertips high. Bring your hands to heart center, and let's take it into that warrior three. Again, you can see where your depth is, still pretty early in our practice. Your warrior three, you're extending your right heel back. Try to square off the hips to the mat. Feeling the crown of the head reach forward, creating almost like a T-like shape with your body. Then once you're ready, we'll take it back to standing, releasing the arms by the sides. Inhale, get nice and tall. On an exhale, let's fold it forward. Inhale, lift it up halfway with a nice flat back. On an exhale, we'll plant the palms, stepping it back to our high plank here. Getting your body in that nice straight line. Bringing shoulders right above the wrist. Hold it here. You can stay here, or you might bend one knee, allowing the knee to hover about an inch above the mat. Straighten that leg. Allow the opposite knee to hover right above the mat as you find a bend in the knee, straighten the leg, alternating between sides, moving at your own pace. Make sure you're breathing. Try not to hold your breath here. We're gonna move through for another 3, 2, 1. Let's take it right into a down dog here. Take a nice big inhale through the nose, let it all out through the mouth. Letting some heat out from the body. And once you let out enough heat, you can seal your lips. Once again, breathing in and out through the nose, finding that rhythmic breath. You're slowing down the pace of your breath while finding that full capacity of the lungs. And of course, you might lose it along the way in your practice, and that's perfectly fine. Just try to reacquaint yourself with it. All right, you ready to move on? At the bottom of an exhale, you'll step or jump to the top of the mat. Option this time to bring big toes together to touch or feet hip distance as we sit the hips down low, reaching the fingertips high. On an exhale, let's find those airplane arms. On an inhale, rise it up to that one leg Tadasana, invite your left leg with you. From here, we're twisting across the body. Remember, your low body is isolated, opening the chest towards the left side. Activate your arms. You're not finding floppy arms here. You're actively reaching in opposite directions. Beautiful. Let's take it back to center. Hands at heart center. From here, extend your heel forward. It's okay if it's not lifting very high. Eventually, you're working towards getting the heel in line with your hip, but try not to lean your torso back. Keep your head right above the pelvis. You're gonna feel this. And then bend in the knee. Let's take it in to that warrior 3 once again, holding it here. Feeling the 4 corners of that standing foot. Remember where we were at the beginning of this class. Square off the hips to the mat. Lower your left hip in line with the right. Feel that active pull in opposite directions. Your body is having a seesaw effect. The crown of the head reaches forward. Your left heel is reaching towards the back. And once you land, we'll come into a crescent lunge. So you're landing with your left sole of the foot on the mat. Reach your fingertips high. So take a moment to check in here. You're in a lunge position. Your right knee is right above the ankle. Your left hamstring, the back of your left thigh, is reaching up towards the ceiling. Take a moment here. Find a bend in your back knee and feel a rotation of your pelvis towards your navel. A lot of us have a propensity to stick out the butt here. That causes a lot of pressure in the low back. So take a moment to feel that rotation of pelvis towards navel, finding that neutral spine, and then straighten your back leg. Holding it for a moment. And from here, we'll bend in both knees, then straighten both legs, opening the chest towards the right, activating those arms, reaching in opposite directions. Good, we're gonna take a few rounds, moving at your own pace, lunging, bending in both knees, then straightening both legs, opening the chest towards the right. From here, as you transition, just make sure you're not locking the knees when you have both legs straight. You're finding a little micro bend. Good. Eventually, take it back to center. Find that nice bend in your front knee. Bring your hands to heart center once again. Find your drishti, a point of focus. It could be a little spot on the floor to find your stability as you take off, coming into that warrior 3 once again. Bring the feet together to touch. And we're going to, your feet are parallel to one another, sitting back into an imaginary chair, and we're coming into a prayer twist towards the right. So make sure the knees aren't going past the toes. You're hooking your left elbow to the outside of your right thigh. Get the spine nice and long as you firmly press your palms into one another. You can trust yourself to sit back maybe a little bit further. As you inhale, lengthen your spine. Work first on lengthening the spine, then maybe you twist a little bit further. If it's really challenging to get this hook on the outside of your right thigh, you can always bring your elbow to the inside of your left thigh. So just see what works for you. Breathing into it. And on an exhale, let's fold it forward, letting it all go. Relax your head and neck. Taking a couple rounds of breath in your forward fold. Maybe coming a little bit deeper. Maybe the belly is even closer to the thighs. And then once you're ready on an inhale, let's lift it up halfway. On an exhale, plant your palms. Step it back to a high plank, top of a push-up. Holding your high plank. Getting your shoulders right above the wrist. Your body is flat as a board. Keep it flat as a board. Bend in one knee, allow it to hover above the mat. Straighten that leg. Alternating sides. moving at your own pace. Try to keep your alignment here. That nice straight line from your heels, hips to the crown of the head, moving through for another 3, 2, 1. Good. From here, lower onto your knees, taking that modified plank as slowly as you can, lower all the way down onto your chest. Once you lower down, we're gonna come into our Sphinx pose. So press down the tops of your feet. It's the nail side of the feet that are on the mat. Engage your legs, really engaging your quads, those muscles right above the knees. And then you're bringing your forearms parallel to one another. From here, try to create length in the neck. Try not to allow the shoulders to shrug up towards the ears. Feel the belly button move towards the spine to help protect the low back. And if you want to come further here, press your elbows into the mat. Feel as though your elbows are sliding towards the back of your mat as you reach your chest forward, trying to create space between your collarbones. Breathing into it, and if this is ever too much of a back bend, you can always walk your elbows further forward so you're not lifting as high. Taking a couple more rounds of breath here. Good, lowering all the way down, placing one hand on top of the other. Rest your third eye onto the back of one hand. Allow your heels to fall open out to the sides, releasing some tension from the low back. Take a moment to massage your third eye, rocking your forehead right to left. Taking cleansing breaths wherever you need them. Coming a little bit closer to clearing the mind. And once you're ready, we'll prepare to move on. Place your palms onto the mat. Let's lift it up to a tabletop and back into our downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. Just taking a moment to check in, seeing how already so early in our practice, our body feels so different, so much more open. Feeling a sense of gratitude here. And once you're ready, we'll prepare to move on. At the bottom of an exhale, you can either step or jump to the top of your mat. We'll sit the hips down low, reaching the fingertips high, coming into that chair pose once again. Taking a moment to check in, make sure your knees aren't coming past the toes. Try not to compromise your form here. Even as you get a little bit tired, you can always take modifications. Once you're ready, on an exhale, let's find airplane arms. Fingertips reach towards the back of the room. On an inhale, we'll rise it up to a one-leg Tadasana. We're inviting our right leg with us on this side. Get nice and tall, take a nice big inhale. On an exhale, let's open up the chest towards the right. Inhale, get taller. Exhale, maybe twist a little bit more. Then we'll take it back to center, bringing your hands to heart center. Let's extend that right heel forward. Again, try not to lean back. That happens to a lot of us here. Try to keep your head above the pelvis, working towards getting that right heel in line with your right hip. Good, find that nice bend in your knee. Let's take it in to our warrior 3 on this side. Take your time to get there. If you fall out, just try to get back in. Lower your right hip in line with your left. Feel that energetic pull in opposite directions, that seesaw effect. Then once you're ready, we'll land in our crescent lunge. So on the side, it's your right heel that's facing the ceiling. Your left knee is right above your ankle. Bend in your right knee for a moment. Feel that rotation of pelvis towards navel. And then straighten that back leg. All right, so pay attention to what that left knee is doing on this side. Make sure the knee is never going past the toes as we lunge here. So we'll bend in both knees. We'll straighten both legs without locking the joints. Find micro bends in the knees. And then we're opening the chest across the body towards the left side. Take it back to center, bending in both knees, straightening both legs, opening, twisting, working the core at the same time as we're working our low body. Good. Make sure you're breathing here, moving through at your own pace. Good. Let's take it back to center. Bring that nice bend in your front knee. Bring your hands to heart center. Find the 4 corners of that left foot. That grounding action, that rooting action we found earlier. Focus on your drishti, that one non-moving point ahead. And we'll prepare to lift off, coming in to that warrior 3 once again. Feeling that energetic pull in opposite directions. See where you want to take it. Then we'll land with our feet parallel to one another. sitting our hips back and down, preparing to come into our prayer twist on this side. Hooking your right elbow to the outside of that left thigh. Remember, there's a modification if that twist is too much where you can bring your elbow to the inside of your right thigh. So just see where you want to take it. Take a moment to set yourself up here. Keep your hips nice and squared off. If your right knee is poking out in front of the left, it's an indicator that your hips are not squared off. So you can invite your right hip back. First, work on lengthening the spine before you twist too much deeper. Find length as you inhale. As you exhale, maybe you twist a little bit more. Just see where you want to take it. And on your own time, on an exhale, we'll fold it forward, letting it all go, relaxing the head and neck. Find a gentle bend in the knees. Slowly roll it up to standing. Good. Find that length of your spine, standing up nice and tall, feeling the crown of the head reach up towards the ceiling. Bring the arms high overhead, interlacing all but your index fingers, those first fingers. As you inhale, get nice and tall. As you exhale, let's lift up and over towards the left, finding a nice side body stretch here. Feeling as though you're lifting your torso up and over a high bar. Trying not to collapse here, but feeling lifted, then lifting up and over. Really breathing into your right side body, feeling all that space you're creating as you continue breathing. Maybe you come a little bit deeper, but not forcing it. And on your own time, we'll take it back to an upright. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, let's lift up and over towards the right side. Breathing into it. And on your own time, let's take it back to center. Feel that rotation of pelvis towards navel, engaging your core, belly button towards spine, and we'll lift with the chest, reaching the heart high. See where you want to take it. Just try not to stick the butt out here. You're supporting your low back with your core. And we'll take it to an upright. On an exhale, let's fold it forward, letting it all go. Inhale, let's lift it up halfway with a nice flat back. On an exhale, we'll plant the palms, stepping it back to a high plank. Taking just a little bit more core work before we make our way onto the mat. Hold that high plank. Bend both knees at the same time, allowing the knees to hover about 1 inch above the mat and straighten the legs. Moving through at your own pace. And moving through for another 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. You come onto the knees. We'll cross at the ankles and we're gonna come into a seated position and scoot yourself forward. We're gonna come all the way down onto the mat. Take your time to get there. Laying down onto the mat. Walk your heels in towards your hips. Preparing to take a few back bends. Just beginning to slow things down a bit. Make sure your feet are parallel and hip distance to one another. Your knees are right above the ankles. You can always find the backs of the heels with the fingertips to check on your alignment, but just make sure you're not gripping onto the fronts of the ankles. That's usually an indicator that your heels are too close to your hips. So when you lift up, your knees will likely go past your ankles. So just set yourself up here. Again, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. You can grab onto the sides of your mat for a little bit more leverage to maybe take it a little bit higher. Maybe you're interlacing the fingers beneath the sacrum, feeling your shoulder blades come closer together. Let's see where you want to take this. Your interlaced fingers are reaching towards the top of the mat as your pinky fingers and arms are pressing into the mat. And once you're ready, release the interlace. Release your shoulder blades. And as slowly as you can, lower down from your upper back, middle back, to lower back, 1 vertebra at a time. Giving yourself a nice massage, a well-deserved massage. And then from here, heel toe, your feet towards the wide edges of the mat, walking them forward a bit. And then windshield wiper those knees, allowing one knee in, the other knee out. Releasing some more tension from your low back. Good. Eventually finding stillness. Let's walk the heels back in line with the hips. We'll prepare to take another back bend. So we're gonna come into our bridge pose once again. See where you want to take it. Maybe take it a little bit higher this time now that we're a little bit more open. Just seeing where your depth is. And on your own time, we'll slowly lower down from upper, middle to lower back. From here, bringing the bottoms of the feet together to touch. Allow your knees to open wide, finding your Supta Baddha Konasana. You can bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Checking in with your breath, finding that length and depth of breath, noticing the rise and fall of your chest and the rise and fall of your belly. And on your own time, we'll place our hands on the outsides of the thighs, guide your knees together to touch. Hugging your knees in towards your chest, rocking from right to left. And then from here, let's come into a happy baby, bringing the bottoms of your feet to face the ceiling. You can either grab onto your hamstrings or for the bottoms of the feet. Just want to make sure your low back is connected to the mat. So if your low back begins to come off the mat as you grab onto your feet, take the hamstrings as an alternative. Just beginning to rock from right to left, slowing it down. And hugging your knees together to touch. From here, wrap your arms across your shins. Giving yourself a nice big hug, giving yourself a nice big squeeze, giving yourself so much love, feeling that sense of gratitude here. Take little sips of air in through the nose. On an exhale, release onto your mat. Extend your feet towards the top of the mat, extending the legs long. Allow your shoulder blades to melt down towards the heels, creating length in the neck. Bring your arms slightly away from your side body with your palms face up to feel a greater sense of openness. We're breathing normally. Just try to let go of any tension, trying to let go of anything you might be holding on to, and just allow yourself to be here. You deserve this time. Thank you for moving with me today and for holding me accountable to you. It's such a pleasure being with you today. Please stay here for as long as you like. I'm sending lots of love and positive energy your way. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.